this doesn't scream summer, I don't know what does. Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Ebony and it is hot. It is July, which means it's summer. Therefore, I'm going to give you oddly specific book recommendations based on summer feelings, moods, experiences. I asked you all a while back on both my Instagram and in the community tab here on YouTube to leave some summer moods, feelings, etc. that you would like a book recommendation for, and I would do my best to give you a rec that I think falls in line with that experience. The first one I have is being so hot that you want to crawl out of your skin. And when I tell you there was one book that instantly popped into my mind when I read this summer experience, it was Dogs of Summer. This book follows our main character who is a teenager or like on the preteen, on the brink of adolescence, as she's living in the Canary Islands and she is infatuated with her neighbor. There is like a sort of attraction, and throughout this experience they are just constantly trying to get to the sea. And if there's one thing about summer which I can relate to, is that I fiend for the beach. I love being on the beach. I love the ocean. I love hearing the waves. Dogs of Summer specifically fits this mood because within the novel, it focuses a lot on the body, more specifically like the things that can make us uncomfortable. It talks about like shit a lot. It talks about literally being so hot and sticky and wet all over, and your hairs sticking to your skin on your body. It's just a very visceral, like physical book, and the images have stuck with me since. So I think Dogs of Summer would fit this summer mood very, very good. And another story that I think would fit feeling so hot is, well, I read Dogs of Summer and Breast and Eggs by Mieko Kawakami last summer in August, and I felt like they were both great summer reads. This is a thick book, and if you did not know, I have big book fear, but honestly, parts of this did drag a little. But it's just an amazing story, once again, that focuses a lot on the body, specifically like the female body, the female experience within that body. This takes place in the summer in Japan, and the descriptions are very hot, but you also have this sense of wistfulness and longing for your family members and for a different time, which I think corresponds to another response that I received. Breast and Eggs is good. If you did not know, this book is actually broken down into two books. One is a smaller novella, which is only related to the larger piece, Eggs, because it has the same characters. But in Breast, the main character, I believe her name was Natsuko, her sister comes to visit her, and her sister is contemplating getting like a breast augmentation done. And so it is kind of like a commentary or an analysis of Western beauty standards and influences on Eastern cultures. And then the Eggs piece of this is Natsuko contemplating becoming a mother and what that journey would be like for her and what motherhood means to her and the ways in which she wants to provide a better future for her future child, juxtaposed to how she grew up somewhat poor. Like discusses class and access to healthcare in Japan for people who want to become mothers in non-traditional ways. So Breast and Eggs as well also just had a lot of descriptions of feeling hot and sticky and sweating all night while you're sleeping in the hot summer heat. So I recommend those for that. Up next, we have Living Abroad / Summer Romances. Now, of course, the book of the summer, I feel like My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. I think everyone should read this book in the summer. The themes are quite heavy, but it satisfies that desire of like maybe traveling to Europe over the summer or living in a different area. Actually, Elena Ferrante is gonna dominate this category because Elena Ferrante is one of my favorite authors. She's an Italian author, love her very much. My Brilliant Friend follows Elena, who's the main character, and oh my god, I'm forgetting her name. as they are growing up and becoming women, but the story is told like in retrospect from Elena as she's older. We know that she's written a book about her brilliant friend, and then we learn about their relationship. But this takes place in Napoli, but it talks a lot about like the Italian neighborhood. There's the whole thing about like girlhood and first crushes, and one of our characters gets married at the end of this, so there is that like element of romance to it. But like I said, if you just kind of want to dive a little bit into a different culture, a different setting, living abroad, definitely would recommend Elena Ferrante's My Brilliant Friend. And another Elena Ferrante I would recommend that has major beach vibes. This has an HBO adaptation, I believe, like a series. Yes, it literally says it here. This has been adapted to a film. This is The Lost Daughter by Elena Ferrante, which follows Lita, who is a woman in her 50s, I believe. She's like middle-aged, and it discusses like motherhood. She becomes infatuated and obsessed with this younger mother and daughter pair that she meets on a beach. She's on vacation. I believe she's in Greece or somewhere off the Italian coast, and she goes to the beach every day. It's just a very beachy atmosphere. And The Lost Daughter is great because it's a little unsettling. So if you're one who likes to read somewhat heavy topics, I think Elena Ferrante is great. She satisfies like that lit fic, but then also living abroad because, you know, she's an Italian author and her works are set in Europe. So definitely recommend. Okay, so another book I received is Never Wanting Summer to End, and I'm going to recommend a romance for this. More specifically, it was a very cute romance, very summery romance, very like PG romance, and that is By the Book. This was a very cute story. We have our main character here, whose name is Isabel, and you'll see there's like, it's like a Beauty and the Beast retelling adaptation. So our main character here, he's very grumpy. He is the child of a famous film director. His father recently passed away, so he's secluded himself in his palace. That's like a very cute like garden villa in California. And our main character, Isabel, works in publishing. She is in her mid-20s, so she's feeling that quarter-life crisis. She is not the happiest in her career. However, our main guy here is supposed to be writing a tell-all memoir detailing like his life, his troubled appearance in the media, etc. And basically what happens is she is encouraged to live with him to get him to write a book. So it's like forced proximity when we think about like tropes, grumpy versus sunshine. I never describe things in means of tropes, but I find that it works for romance readers. I thought this was very cute. I ended up rating it like 3.5 stars, but it fits that like never wanting summer to end because throughout the novel, she just, I don't want to give away too much, but she just really loves the situation that she's in. She's fine that she's writing again. She feels very inspired while she's living in this beautiful, like, small California town off the ocean. There's a lot of surfing in here. So it just feels summery. It gives you summer. It's cute. It's a romance. Just read it. It also isn't that long. I lied, it's 300 pages, but still. Up next, someone asked for grief, like what to read if you are grieving in the summer. And I thought that this is a very, like a summer rec that can often get overlooked by people because we think summer, we think fun, exciting times, chill, by the pool, by the beach, by the ocean. However, I do have a recommendation, and if I can find it. So I would recommend that you read A Sing a Rose by Muriel Barberry. Now, I started reading this book a while ago, as you can see. I decided to DNF at the time because it was just like a very heavy read for me. It was winter. I was already like experiencing seasonal depression. I was like, I don't want to be extra sad. So I DNF'd this, but this story is perfect if you are grieving because within the story, the main character, she lives in France, I believe, and her father is like a Japanese nobleman akin to like royalty, and he passes away. She's never met him. However, she receives a letter in the mail stating that she needs to go to Japan, go to his estate to like claim or to read his will. And within it, there's like interlaced Japanese tales that fit beautifully within the story and kind of give a little further insight into what the main woman is experiencing as she's grieving a father who she's never met. And I thought this was great. It also feels very spring, summer, because as we can see here, there's a lot of flower imagery throughout this novel. Very beautiful landscape in the Japanese world, and there's a bit of romance here as well. So mainly a book dealing with grief, but kind of set in a landscape that could whisk you away, and you can get absorbed in the tales as well that are interlaced throughout here. I do actually plan on finishing this. I am on page 91, and it's a pretty short book too. I think it only has, it has 148 pages, so very tiny book that I think you can get through in 1 day or 2 days. And like I said, it was just like a very heavy story, but setting and flower imagery, I think it would go well with summer as well. Someone wanted a rec for playing in the street and in the backyard as a young boy, and I loved this because it was like a bit of a challenge. I don't really read that many novels written by men, I'm realizing, which I kind of want to fix. So let me grab, because I would recommend Finna by Nate Marshall. A poetry collection, takes place in Chicago. It explores like an inner city experience as a child. And then I think a book that goes perfectly hand in hand with this is, sorry, I literally have all my books like in front of me spread out that I'm using for this video, which was not the best. I'm gonna find it. Where is it at? Did I even pull it out? I did not pull it out. I would even recommend Lot by Brian Washington. This takes place in Houston, and as you would think, it alludes to like the lot or plot of land of a home. So it explores a lot about home. It's very like neighborhood, feels like kind of a little bit like In the Heights, very slice of life, a peek into the neighborhood, but all through mainly like these interconnected stories that focus on the main character's ponderings of his home, his identity, how we can relate to where we come from, or how we can embrace where we come from without feeling ashamed or embarrassed. So these stories, these two pieces remind me of that. Okay, of course I have to do a rec for a fun pool party. Like, what kind of summer recommendation video would this be? And I'm going to talk about Francisco by Allison Mills Newman. I featured this book a few times on my channel. I have not read it yet, but I started it. And it's told in like diary entry format from the perspective of a Black woman who becomes involved like romantically in a relationship with Francisco. And within this relationship, she reclaims her agency as a Black woman creative specifically, who does not need to rely on like a man to bolster her career in any way. This is set in 1970s California. It talks about Angeles Davis, California culture. What more could you want? As I said, I think this is great for like a fun pool party if you're reading at a fun pool party, because the novel itself is very fun and playful. So far, my initial impressions, and I feel as though it's told in like these short little snippets, so it's easy to dip in and out. So yeah, I would recommend that. And then of course, how could I not recommend Joan Didion? Another 1970s California ultimate cool girl book to read. This is a collection of essays, journalistic essays from Joan, discussing everything from like LA elites trying to get into Ivy Leagues and Stanford, up until like why she writes and her purpose as an author. Also her obsession with Hemingway, I believe. Yeah, Hemingway. It was a great book. Also told in essay format, very easy to dip in and out of, and very short as well. So I would recommend those for a fun fun pool party. I feel like a lot of people recommend like happy hour, which I ended up DNFing. Like, I'm sorry, I thought it was like a little too, I didn't feel as connected to the characters as a reader, and I need something. It was just like a little too for me. But that's a me thing. Okay, I also have a rec for this, and I loved this because a book that popped into my mind instantly is Either Or by Elif Batuman. And then within this, we're following our girl Celine, who is the main character of The Idiot, the first book. This is the second from The Idiot, and it follows Celine through her sophomore year at Harvard, figuring herself out. She decides that she wants to be a novelist and a writer, so she is seeking out or trying to figure out which is better, an aesthetic life or a moralistic life. So she leans a little bit into the aesthetic, meaning that she gets herself in situations and in relationships. She has a lot of like first encounters, a lot of like first like sexual encounter and everything is discussed here. And also she travels to Turkey. There is a lot of like summer vibes within this novel as well. A lot of music mentioned. Just a very fun. I loved Either Or. I think even liked it better than The Idiot, to be honest. She got over Ivan, which is a spoiler if you haven't read The Idiot yet. But yeah, for sure recommend. Also, I'm gonna end this video on my favorite thing to do in the summer, which is to record the sparkling of light reflecting off of the water. So spacing out while watching the glittering water on the surface of a lake. And for this, I of course have to recommend my fave girl, my fave poet, Mary Oliver, specifically House of Light. There is like a lot of light imagery in here. Just a very nature poet. You already know. I mean, also like just the cover. Like if this doesn't scream summer, I don't know what does. So specifically gazing out, spacing out, that feeling of like awe and wonder as you watch the light glitter off of the lake. My favorite thing to do. House of Light, I think, captures that, as well as also briefly I would mention Bird Girl, which is a book that I want to read that kind of falls in line with like being in awe of nature. So it says, meet Maya Rose, otherwise known as Bird Girl. In her words, bird watching has never felt like a hobby. It's not a pastime I can pick up and put down, but a thread running through the pattern of my life, so tightly woven that there is no way of putting it free and leaving the rest of my life intact. It's Maya Rose and her family as they travel the world in search of rare birds and astonishing landscapes. But a shadow moves with them too, her mother's deepening mental health crisis. In the face of the struggle, the Craigs turn to nature again and again for comfort and meaning. And I'm searching for meaning when I'm like spacing out and staring at the sun glitter off a body of water. So I think this is good. Very like a naturalistic, naturey vibe, kind of like granola girl-esque. But yeah, anyway, those are my recommendations. Stay cool, but also stay hot this summer. Stay safe, and let me know what you recommend for these oddly specific summer feelings or moods. And thank you so much for being here. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye!